Greetings, my name is David Duford. I'm a final expense life insurance agent and the owner of FEAgentmentor.com, where I personally train aspiring agents and people like yourself into being successful and profitable final expense life insurance agents. And today, the reason you're listening to this message is most likely you saw a Craigslist job posting of mine that listed this free message, and which discusses the 6 pitfalls aspiring final expense producers really need to avoid before they become committed to a final expense sales organization. And at this point in your search for a final expense agency to call home, likely you've seen dozens of jobs on a variety of different job websites. Maybe you've already talked to agency managers about final expense insurance opportunities or received information about different final expense programs. You might already be a final expense producer looking for a better agency to work with, or a life insurance producer from another market, or you might be looking to get licensed as a life insurance agent and you're attracted to the part-time income that you can make from this career. Now, if you're like I was when I first started in this business several years back, you probably have some level of skepticism on which route is the best to follow. There certainly are a ton of them. You'll talk to a lot of different people, and they'll all sound pretty good, but it becomes a little difficult to choose really which is the best route. The purpose of this recording is to identify what you don't know, to really give you the questions all final expense producers really need to know the answers to, and most importantly, to make you aware of the long-term consequences you will incur if you end up making the wrong decision and contracting with the wrong final expense agency. The reason I can identify with these potential long-term consequences is because I had to make pretty much the same mistakes that I'm about to mention. I had to learn from my mistakes through trial and error. The truth is, I've been at the top and the bottom of this business, and I know and have learned through experience. Currently now, I am a full-time final expense producer, and I'm doing the best I ever have. I'm selling about $4,000 to $5,000 in new business on average each week, and I work about 4 days a week and really just enjoy the benefits of this business. There's a lot of things I can do now as an independent agent with the ability to do so that I never would have had if I didn't really go through the thick of it. And that's the reason that I'm recording this to begin with, because once you get done listening, you're going to have more education about how the final expense business really works and how it may or may not benefit you in your selection for where you want to ultimately go. And the bottom line here is this: I want you to be able to make a better decision on which agency to go with based on what's best for you and your family, and definitely not for the manager who ends up recruiting you. Now let's start with the 6 questions that you need to ask that you don't know about, as well as the answers to those questions, so you can tell whether or not the final expense opportunity you're looking at is truly in your best interest. Now, before I get into those questions, I do want to go over some fundamental facts about how this business works. This is really important. A very productive Top Gun agent once said, "Final expense is a simple business, but it ain't easy." There's a tremendous ability to be successful in this business. It's fantastic because of the money-making potential. I've known agents that make $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year working 4 or 5 days a week. And the ability to make even more than that over the long term is incredible, because you build renewal streams in this business where money on existing business in force continues to come in, and you really enjoy the fruits of your labor without necessarily having to work for it because it's already sold. Now, the success factor in being successful in this business, like I said, it's simple, but it isn't easy. First of all, it all depends on you getting out there to sell. Let me be clear. This is sales. This is not order taking, meaning you're not some clerk behind a desk ringing up groceries. You have to go out there and see these people, meaning you've got to talk to them, you got to get to know them, you got to convince them or sell them on why the solution you have is better and far superior than the other ones, and then you have to confidently ask for the business. And in final expense, you have to do this daily, multiple times a day, over and over again for the rest of your career. The one thing final expense is not about is elephant hunting. You see, in a lot of other life insurance lines, there's the opportunity or the ability after many years of work to score 5 and 6 figure deals. You don't get this in final expense. You're selling primarily fixed income seniors. This is all about in the trenches, constant work, constant sales, and constantly closing. You have to ask for the sale. It's a very simple sale. It's not dramatic. It doesn't take much intelligence. It doesn't take much fact finding or development of a plan. It's not complicated, but the process is continual. And that's why I say you have to be constantly committed to seeing the people, because you have to constantly write business on new people all the time in order to continue to make money. And as equally important as it is to be completely committed to this business, what's also is equally important, and really why I decided to do this for audio recording, is to have the right tools available to you in order to succeed. And when I say tools, what I mean is this. Not only do you have to have the passion, the fire in your belly, but you really have to have the right carrier selection. You need to be with the right agency, because in the beginning really is the most fundamental period to develop your skills as a salesperson, and then develop your skills as a final expense agent. You have to have the training in the beginning. It needs to be focused, it needs to be comprehensive, and you need to have those both in order to succeed in this business, and there's no question about that. Now, when I first started a couple of years ago, I had this in the beginning. I think training could have been better, because I made some costly mistakes earlier on. But if I had the proper instruction, I wouldn't have. But to have the right training in the beginning, somebody who's going to be there to guide you and show you the right way, it's paramount to success. So I can't express enough how important this is in order to maximize your success in this business, in order to have fundamental training from the beginning. Now, when I say, I'm not going to say you're guaranteed success in this business. This business is easy. This business is simple. It's not easy. Any marketer, any organization that says you're guaranteed to make money is full of bullshit. The fact is, beyond your commitment and willpower to succeed, you do need proper coaching, mentoring, and correct product selection in your court in order to maximize your success, because this business has just become so competitive over the past several years. A lot of the shifts in other insurance industries, namely healthcare, the mortgage insurance market, has caused these agents that were otherwise successful there, but due to market forces had to look elsewhere. Many are navigating over to the final expense arena. Last year we saw a 20% increase in the sale of final expense products. So that means more likely than not there's just that many more agents in this business out there who are selling. And you've got to be prepared from a selection standpoint in order to do the best and sell the most. The thing is if you don't, assuming you even lack the commitment to be successful, if you don't have the right prospecting system, or if you don't have the right carrier selection, if you don't have the right sales training, you're going to lose out the other agents. It's like what I said earlier. You know, there are plenty of agents like myself that are more tenured, more skilled, and more flexible than somebody who may be married to one company, who is an independent, and we'll get into that in a minute. And you're going to find that your business that you sell will get replaced. The money that you've been advanced as a commission is going to be required to be sent back, and you're going to go into debt, and that's when you really suffer in this business. And not a lot of people like to talk about this, but that's why I'm going to tell you now that there really are 6 things you need to know in order to be successful. So let's get into it. Now the first pointer is this. You need to watch out for agencies that focus, again, more on recruiting than they do on agent development. As a beginner, this is kind of tough to see, Because most agencies out there and most recruiters are going to sell you what I call quote-unquote blue sky. When I say blue sky, what I mean is that they're going to tell you, hey, listen, dude, the sky's the limit in this organization. There's nothing in your way. All you do is you buy leads. You just see the people, and then poof, instantly you're making $100,000, $200,000, even more a year, maybe even on a part-time basis. It's so easy, everybody's doing it. Now, if you hear this stuff, then be wary. More likely than not, what you're hearing is a marketing pitch to get you in the door, to sign up for that agency before you really discover that you have to work hard in this business, that you have to dedicate yourself to this business. And a lot of times, the selection that Sweet Talking Marketers has for carriers aren't really that good to begin with. So what do you do about finding out which agency to go with is the best? Well, number one, you need to talk to successful producers, not successful agency marketers. What you need to figure out is this: has the marketer actually been a salesman at one point? Is he just a guy that came on board and decided to be basically the next team builder or multi-level marketing recruiter? If you've been around long enough, we've all seen those people, the ones that pitch their vitamins, coffee, and that kind of stuff. And life insurance, interestingly enough, is no stranger to the same type of setup. In fact, it predominates most of what's out there. What he's focusing on is producing agents and not producing final expense business. Again, two different job types. And his job is to sell you whatever it takes to become an agent with him. So again, does he have your best interest in mind? Gotta doubt it. Now, if you have the ability to, you want to talk to references or talk to people that the marketer or the agency has dealt with. An estimation on how legitimate the agency is. But you really want to know more of a total education about the business, because you'll be able to sniff these people out from the beginning, like I can, without having to sit here and delve through and figure out, is this guy legit or fake? I can see from a mile away when I read these job postings on Craigslist and other job boards who's who and what's what. It's easy for me to figure that out. But if you've not been in this business, it is a little bit harder. What you want to know is this. You want to know how this agency is going to develop you as a final expense agent from the very beginning. You want to ask them, do they have comprehensive training? What are you going to do more than just send me a couple of audio recordings to help me be successful? Are you going to take me on field rides? Do you have a delineated schedule of trainings, of ways to improve, of how to get better? What are you going to do to make me successful? Are they producing agents? Do they have proof in the pudding that makes them successful? You really want to see how these people are going to treat you as an agent. And asking these series of questions helps identify whether or not these are serious people to work with. Because the bottom line is this: any organization you go with, whether you worked with me, whether you worked with somebody else, they're going to take a cut of every deal that you make. This is the nature of this business. And you want your upline, is what we call them, you want them to earn that cut. And if you're getting the pitch and you're not getting any indication that they're going to earn it over the long run away, because there's plenty of other opportunities. And like I said, if you get the pitch, the blue sky, and they just promote that you're going to learn sales from a website, I'm telling you, it just doesn't have the same impact when somebody sits down with you in person, has one-on-one consults with you, and takes you on ride-alongs to learn the business. You just won't get the same level of learning. If you don't do that, it just has a negative effect on your development as an agent. Now, number 2 is poor product selection. I hinted on this in the beginning. What I mean by that is this business is totally unlike most life insurance sales. Most agents from traditional life markets can really successfully sell for one company, can make a lot of money just selling one company's products every year, and have loyal clientele that really aren't privy to being replaced based on price. And that's to some extent partly true in the final expense business. You have to sell yourself. You got to be likable, trustable, and have some authority to help your clients buy from you. But what you really need in this business and final expense equally, as much as being able to sell yourself, you also need the ability and the flexibility of product selection in order to sell the right product at the best price with the best benefits every time. And again, the reason this business is so competitive, because there's not only a lot of agents in your territory, but the truth is You also have a variety of prospects with different health conditions. Each carrier has different underwriting requirements for each health condition. You can't do a one-stop shop selection for everybody you see, because if you do, you get agents like me that will come behind you after you sold it that will easily replace it and keep the policies there without getting replaced. Now, most people you're going to talk to or get solicitations over the phone, over cold calls, or in person, and maybe some send direct mail back. They're going to get multiple agents calling on them, and again, that's why it's absolutely vital when you sell a product you make it stick, and it can't be unearthed due to dramatic pricing differences or dramatic qualification differences, because if it doesn't, all that money you make, it's going right back. You owe it back to the carrier, and having too much of that, which some companies that you're probably reading about now have, they won't tell you, it will ruin your career. You end up in debt, and you probably end up with a bag mark on your credit. Now, digging into that, for example, there's this one company out there. They're huge, heavily recruiters. They're probably the top, largest final expense sales organization. You probably have seen them. Now, I'm not going to use their name, but a tip-off is that their name is based off of one of our presidents' last name. They recruit, and they only offer one product in their agency. They'll sell you the moon, and they'll tell you, hey, we got one product that fits everything, and there's no problem. But what happens is, agents like me that are tenured, that have the flexibility of offering different carriers, like I said, when we see policies like this, we cream, because it's an almost guaranteed sale. It's free money just laying there waiting to be picked up, because we know these products are so tremendously overpriced. They don't have the best conditions for business, and 9 out of 10 times we'll replace them. We make the money. The other agent that sold them loses the money, and we're effectively putting them out of business because they had a bad product that they sold. The company with the name of an American president will tell you this, but like me, people experienced in business, like myself, who know this business back and forth, know that this company has some of the highest prices in the business for final expense. If an agent, again, is in this competitive environment, will replace it if they see it. If they've got half talent to do so, you as the final expense agent with this company, named after American president, are going to be out of money, you're going to owe it back, and you're in the vicious cycle known as chargeback hell. So what's the solution to this? Well, first of all, my recommendation is to never sign up with a company that just offers one particular company. It just doesn't work in the final expense business. I've seen it tried and tried again. You need to have the ability to contract with multiple carriers, and that means you need to be an independent agent. I personally have anywhere at any time between 10 and 15 carriers I work with, of which I write about maybe 3 to 5 of them 90% of the time. The reason, like I mentioned earlier, is people's health requires different companies that have different underwriting requirements for prescription drug use as well as health, and you need to have the know-how and the flexibility of carriers to match the best carrier with the prospect's health. And again, that gives you the best price and coverage advantages and drastically reduces the risk of being replaced. So I cannot express how important this is to your longevity in this career. And as much as I'd like to have more people selling this particular companies with last name of an American president's product in my area so that I can come across it and replace it and make easy sales, I have passion and empathy for the new guy. If there's one thing I can tell you, don't get involved with this company. Look for an independent agency that has multiple carriers that are most competitively priced, so that you're going to have the best chance to keep yourself in business, sell more business, and stay on the business you've got. Now, pointer number 3 is watching out for low starting commissions and low commission ceilings. I began in a situation like this. Now, most people don't understand, a lot of agency out there, when they recruit heavily, what happens is the recruitees are sold on recruiting others. We'll call it a downline. It's a multi-level marketing term where there's multiple recruitment trees, and the people on the bottom are the ones that don't really get paid much of anything, and it's really bad for the people at the bottom. And guess who's at the bottom? You, the life insurance agent. So here's how you know if you're getting a bad deal. If you're getting anything below 70%, you're getting ripped off horribly. Starting commission, which we call first year commission, If you just go out there without any kind of training, you get what's called a street level contract. You don't get marketing or sales assistance. Is between 105 and 115%. Anything in that range is pretty good. If you're getting subsidized leads and minimal training, meaning you're paying a little bit less for your leads, but you're not getting as much personal attention, if you're getting around 85% to 90%, that's pretty good. Now, if you're getting a lot of hands-on training, you're getting a lot of specific training and ongoing training as final expense, my opinion is 80 to 90% is pretty good. Now, I personally would never go with anything below 80%. I just think it's a bad deal. You're going to be on the short stick again, short end of the stick, and again, here's the thing. If you're not maximizing your commission, taking into account the people that cancel their policies and things that happen with a low first-year commission rate, you're just going to really struggle. A lot of the times, the ones with low starting commissions have low max commission ceilings. Now, you may improve, you may do well, you may move up from 70% to 80%, and if you're still not knowledgeable, you don't realize 150% first-year commission is really where you need to be as a proficient, consistent agent. Again, this tip is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars in commissions that your family should be getting. Now remember, if you do or see anything below that, there's just no justifiable reason why anybody should be paid 70% or below. But more likely than not, absolutely not, subsidized leads or not, nothing below 70% is ever worth it. Now, point number 4 is leads. The final expense business is predominantly prospected by direct mail. There's some telemarketed leads for sale, and select few do cold calling in person or over the phone. But I would say 90% of what you see in direct mail is direct mail based. I've been a part of others where I realize the leads that you buy from are actually double dealing behind your back, and you don't have any knowledge of it until you run leads and you see multiple agents work the same people. Now here's the thing. This is the problem with having a lead subsidy organization. What happens is that you trust this entity to manage your lead flow. But what you've effectively done is you've put a middleman in the way. And middlemen are historically known to cost you money. So what happens is that you end up getting in a bad situation where you really have no control over your leads. They're totally controlled by the organization. And what happens is the quality tends to be at detriment, along with the lower commission rate. Typically what happens is the quality reduces because the leads sit in inventory for weeks on end. Sometimes you really have no proof if the leads are actually brand new or whether they're weeks, months, even years old. And what happens is if you get leads like this that are old, you're all excited. You go out and see these people. Think they just send the card in, but you go see them and they're not really that interested. Sometimes they're already dead, believe it or not, and they're not really a fresh lead. And the process becomes more like cold calling than it does actually sitting down with interested prospects, which again is the whole reason you buy mail, right? So how do you know if you're getting double dealed? Like I said, it's hard to say. You want a company that's going to tell you in writing that you'll get fresh leads, number one. But also number two, the real solution is to go with the lead house where you can buy your own mail. What this means is you eliminate the middleman. You go directly to the lead house that prints the leads, and typically you order 1,000 or 2,000 a week, and now you have sole control over the mail. It's all yours. You can tell the mail house where to drop the mail, what income demographics to put up. You know, you're at the helm. The benefits to having control is that you have a faster turnaround, so you can sell and see people quicker. That makes the leads fresher. And again, you're going to get more sales this way because you've eliminated that middleman. Now, with all that said, it is the most expensive route. But I found, because I've done it all, that it's the most effective route. Yes, the price is higher, but the long-term cost is dramatically better, meaning lower, when you go and get your own mail. So don't get duped by these people who are pushing these leads that may have no record of legitimacy. The best ones to go through if you need to be subsidized, it's really just a crapshoot. There's some carriers out there that do that, but more likely than not, the best way to prospect, the best the lead to get is the one that you develop yourself. The closest you can get with direct mail leads is to buy through an independent lead house that doesn't have any affiliation with huge marketing companies, that's not going to double deal behind your back. Because marketers or lead generators in this business are kind of shady. So you got to be very, very careful with that you're making sure that you're getting a good deal. Now, moving on to point 5, you got to be careful because, again, most companies won't discuss this, and this includes most independent companies and organizations that offer final expense contracts. But a lot of these companies will not give you releases on the carriers that you're contracted through. Let me define what a release is. When you contract with the final expense agency, they contract you to a carrier or carriers they have agreements with to sell final expense. When you sign your producer agreement, you effectively have agreed to stay contracted with the carriers they've sent you until you have not produced any new business for 6 months. The reason behind this is that to understand how life insurance works, when you make a sale, typically you'll get loaned 9 months of the monthly premiums of the life insurance contract when the policy is approved. So if you make if the contract's worth $1,000 over payments of a year's time, you're going to get $750 of it. And of course, that's all contingent of actually earning it. And what I mean by that is this: every month that the policy successfully makes a payment, you earn that payment. If the policy lapses in the first week, you owe that $750 back that they gave you. You don't get to keep it because the company gave you the loan contingent upon the policy staying on the books. We call that advancing your commissions. They do that because that allows for people to stay in the business and for it to be profitable. But there's an inherent financial risk because if you sell a bunch of bad business and it bounces back and it doesn't stay on the books, you're out of money. You have to pay that back. The reason that these companies say they don't release you is because it's a financial risk to them. Because if you sell a business and then you don't do anything with it, most way to take care of bad debt is to go out there and start selling. That's the best way to do it. And making enough that way just to pay it off directly. The explanation your agency gives is that it protects them so that if you don't go out there and do it, it's disappear, you'll never sell anything again. Now, there's some truth to that, but the thing is this. Let's say you've done your part as an insurance agent. Let's say the company's lead flow sucks and they're not treating you right. In my opinion, you have every right to take those contracts regardless of the situation, move them over to the agency that will do you right. And I was in this situation. I wasn't released from a few core carriers while the company wasn't giving me consistent leads and not doing what they promised me to do. And so I was required to sit out from these core companies for the first 6 months and not produce before I could migrate them. Now, why is this a problem? Again, it comes back to the competitive fundamentals of this business. You can still go out there and sell while you're tied up for 6 months in a contract, but truthfully, having access to those competitive carriers makes a dramatic difference in winning and keeping business. And now imagine, if all you had access to for 6 months were the higher priced carriers with tougher underwriting requirements, and you had an agent like me with access to most competitive carriers, wouldn't it frustrate you if I came behind a lot of your business and replaced it, causing you to lose out the commissions you banked? So you always want to ask the companies, do you offer a release? If I don't like the way things are going on, or if I don't like the job you're doing, will you let me go? Will you release me? Can I migrate my carriers? And it should be in writing, and you need to say it needs to be in writing. That's going to show you whether or not they're committed to their word and they want you to succeed, or that they're just trying to get you to sign up now so that you're stuck with them, and even if they screw up, you have to still sell if you want to sell that carrier, which is what happens a lot of times. Now, final pointer number 6 is that you've got to be concerned about whether or not you're vested in your business. Now, this is huge, and again, the companies that offer one carrier, the company with the last name of a president, they have in their contract with producers that if you quit within the first 2 years, any renewals that you would have made directly are transferred not to you now, but directly to the manager in the company. Like I said, renewals are a huge part of this business. If you do the math, you'll make about 60% of your total income in the first year. But with renewal streams, which accounts for the remaining 40% of your income, will come later on. They're fantastic because it allows you to make money when you're not necessarily working for it. But what this vested contract says is that you have to stay with this particular company for 2 years before you can even think about leaving and taking the renewals with you. Again, if it's a requirement for you to be contracted with the carrier for 2 years, then you got to be thinking you can't help to think, what if something happens in the 23rd month of my contract and they let me go, and all that business you sold now is transferred to them? All that hard work and all that income you've rightfully worked for is now retroactively given to the company. And that's why you should never ever sign up with a company that does not vest you immediately from the first day. So if things were to turn south, hey, at least you've got your book of business, to the renewal streams and the additional income that you sold. To me, it's just plain immoral to be with a company that says that your work is now mine just because you don't agree with the company or want to go in that direction. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. You got to be straightforward, and you got to demand immediate vesting of your contract from the get-go. And to summarize the 6 points for all the final expense agents that they need to, for all the points all final expense agents need to be aware of, is first, look for a company that's focused on agent development. Make sure you got a company that has carrier product variety and a breadth and depth to give you the best price solution, as well as the best quality solution for your clients. Make sure that you have the opportunity to get the best first year commissions and renewal streams, and not getting stuck into a situation where you have both low first year commissions and low renewals. And make sure that your lead development is done based on the fact of using fresh leads, one that people send in, not but a few weeks ago, and now relying on a company to tell you otherwise. And you have to trust them, and not on a company that you have to trust them to do the right thing when they may not have any credibility. The last two, not getting stuck with a company that says they're not going to release you, but never gives you it in writing. And lastly, the companies that stick it to you in all your business if something happens if you decide to leave it, where they take all that business. Hopefully you found this recording beneficial in your search for a final expense agency. And really take heed to what I mentioned of those 6 points above. It makes all the difference. A lot of these lessons are learned through trial and error. I've gone through most of these personally. And with that said, the last thing I want to do is let you know of the opportunity that I have. I have, in conjunction with my personal production, an agency where I focus on training final expense agents. At FE Agent Mentor, my focus is developing new agents into final expense to become like me, which is financially successful, which is consistent, profitable, and provides the resources to my new agents for success that other final expense recruiters don't offer. The reason final expense agents like yourself work with me is pretty simple. I'm not a marketer. I'm pretty much straightforward, plain spoken. The voice you're listening to right now is me, David Duford. I'm committed, after seeing so many people as well as myself get screwed by these companies, to offer a training solution that is many levels above the competition. Here's how my mentorship program works, because it's totally unique based on the other things that you're seeing out there on job boards or other opportunities, and here's how. Number one, I really focus on developing agents comprehensively in a hands-on basis, and also letting them feel completely free and being free to choose the ultimate direction they want to go after my mentorship program ends. Whether they want to stay with me or not, or go to the next level, is totally fine. I release all my mentees in writing, and I vest them immediately in all their business they produce. And just as important, I get them off on the right foot. I show them how to do this business. Not just over the phone, but I show them in person. If you're hearing this recording, you're within driving distance of my agency and where I sell on a daily basis. And I do intensive training for around 120 days where you learn how to do this business correctly and profitably. You train with me in person. You train with me on ride-alongs. I coach you through problems that you run into in the field. I let you work leads for free if you'd like to get a feel for how the business works. and let you get real live training before you actually work your fresh leads, of which I'll definitely help you find a vendor, and more likely than not use the same vendor that I use. But I just give you the overall opportunity and ability to really succeed and have the best start, so that after your time's up with me, then you can move on, and if you feel free to a free agency where you can contract with as many agents, carriers as you want to, or like I said, you can continue to work with me in more of a managerial world where my investment becomes less only because you've had the fundamentals laid down. The other things you need to consider is that the real benefits to work with me are the following. Again, you're going to have ride-alongs with me, not just one, multiple ones. You'll have the initial one where you see how the business works. You'll have follow-up ride-alongs where you get to kind of hone in on a few things you need help with. And I'm going to show you how to prospect. I'm going to show you what to say on the phone, how to say it on the phone, and how to prospect by taking the lead and going up to the door in person and getting into the door. I'm going to show you where you get the best leads from, not just direct mail, but other sources of leads. Again, that they're going to get you the most interested prospects to buy from. Of which, if you're decent in this business, you'll be able to close a good bit of. I'm going to show you how to talk, what scripts to use in front of your prospects, and again, how to get in the door more frequently. I'm going to show you how to use and teach you my low pressure presentation from the opening to the introduction to the pre-qualification and the close, and then to the warm down. This is vital. You have to know how to sell the product, and I'm going to teach you every last bit of how I do it so that you can do it as well. All these things I teach in person and develop with you. We work on it. We have weekly meetings. We review the business that sold, submitted, review appointments that went well and why they did so, go over appointments that didn't go well and how we can improve, and with the whole intent of getting you to become successful faster in this business. As far as me, credibility wise, I'm a teacher at heart. I love to sell, but I also love to teach other people who like to sell just like me. I keep teaching my teaching role to minimum to 5 or 6 people at a time, and I could go up 10, 15, or 20 at a time, but it becomes so overwhelming that I get out of the field and not stop producing. And I just don't think that from a credibility standpoint that that's good, because it's important that you understand that I produce and sell daily just like you'll be doing too, and that my training is totally based on real world results, not stuff in a book. Like I said, I like the hands-on, more personal training approach to this business. You know, I want to take the most optimal applicants I've discovered and take them and develop them. That's really where I get the most of my pleasure from. So if you're a final expense producer that would like to learn more about the opportunity with me, or if you're a final expense producer and or aspiring final expense producer, maybe you haven't gotten your license yet but would like to move in this direction, reach out to me by directly going to my website at www.f as in Frank, E as in Earl, agentmentor.com. And then at the top, click on the contact page, fill out the contact box information, send it off, and within the next couple of days I'll reach out to you and we'll set an appointment to discuss the opportunity further. In the meantime, thanks for listening to my presentation. Hope you found it beneficial, and look forward to speaking with you if you decide to reach out and contact me. Thanks a bunch.